Hi, my name's Matt, and this is the Pressure Proof Creative podcast, the show where world-class creatives come together to drop the mask, burn the bullshit, and get real about the pressures, the pains, and monumental uncertainty of generating genius on demand. Like, subscribe, and comment to show your support. Okay, Jules, thanks for showing up today on the podcast. It's really good to have you here.
Well, thank you for having me, Matt. It's always a delight to talk to you. It's always inspiring and mind-opening. So my name is Jules Chalkley. I am the creative lead for Ogilvy in London, in UK, and I'm doing what I've always done. If I'm, nothing has really changed over 25 to 30 years. I'm a creative at heart. I'm an art director by training, and the sort of pursuit of creativity and commerce has always been something that I've been fascinated with from about the age of 14. When I was at school, I used to I used to love the sort of British creative industry for its, primarily at the time it was commercials, which I think could sound a bit small and a bit sort of a bit wee, but actually it was incredible work at that time, and it was very inspiring, and it was a very exciting industry by the looks of it. And you had the Saatchis, and they were producing phenomenal work, and things like Dunlop, Expect the Unexpected, and Silk Cut, and funny commercials, and the industry just was really appealing. And I just remember even at the age of 14 thinking that looks exciting. I don't know what it is, but it looks and feels very different to everything else. I was a real TV kid. I loved telly, and I grew up on telly, and telly was a world for me. And just uh, I think that kind of visual entertainment really stuck with me. And I love, it sounds really sort of I don't know, a bit binary, but I remember at the time really just enjoying things like color.
Right, yeah.
And really, I used to see these sort of color palettes in shop windows with paint and stuff like that. And I used to get a thrill out of that stuff. And I think I was very visually driven as a child. Um, and I think had enough of an imagination to be annoying to my parents. And then I just sort of felt like that felt like a place for me. And I sort of kind of weirdly when I went through um O levels and A levels at the time, because obviously you know I'm pre GCSE. I didn't enjoy I didn't enjoy school, and I didn't enjoy the exam world at all. I was good at art, and it sort of felt like either I was predetermined or predestined or wired in a way that I didn't pass any I didn't pass any exams. I mean, I literally there's another story in how I received my A level results, but I literally failed everything with unclassified grades. And and art college was the only thing open to me. And at the time, I went and did a thing called a foundation year, and I think everyone who I've spoken to who did a
Yeah,
foundation year describe it as one of the best years of their life.
yeah.
And I think there were many things in that creative exploration and media and the sort of people you were hung around with. And it went from there to going to ad school at Hounslow.
Mm.
And I got into Hounslow. And the only reason I got into Hounslow is I couldn't get into anything because I didn't have any A levels. All the universities were like, fuck you. And Hounslow just saw my portfolio and they just said, well, look, you don't really look like you enjoy finishing anything, but you do look like you enjoy having ideas. Why don't you come and join us? And went to Hounslow, then befriended John Gillard at the SCA and sort of managed to team up with someone from there, got some tutoring from him. And then just schlepped around London doing placements, and then 25 years later, I'm still here doing it. Is short answer or long
Mm.
answer is probably.
So what was
Uh,
your first job then? Where was your first place you landed?
well, um, I won a D&AD pencil when I was at school. school, and we got a month-long placement at Saatchi's,
Oh, nice.
and it was like my fucking dream came true. On Charlotte Street, and above the door we had the Saatchi, the door, the famous Saatchi and Saatchi entrance. The placement office was the room above that, and it had like these balcony doors, and it was all white, and we were just given two briefs, Cosmo 4X and Silk Cut, and just like fucking that was it. It was
Nice.
brilliant. Yeah, and all you do is massive, layout pad and just smash out idea after idea. It was brilliant. And then I got another placement at what was called Lintas, that then
Yeah.
became Low Lintas eventually. And I was working on things like Pepperami there, and that was my sort of that was kind of like, I suppose, the transition from placement to a job. But I didn't. It always felt like a placement, that. But my first proper job, I think, was St. Luke's,
Yeah.
um, which was unbelievable in so many ways. Um, the ridiculous and the sublime, actually.
And you became a creative
Uh,
director at, was it 27?
yeah, I was very. Yeah, I was, it's too young. The it's too young. It's interesting because I think that I then sort of did. I then went on to Rainey Kelly and spent 10 years under people like Ben Priest and Mark Rolfe, not being a creative director, just being a creative.
Yeah.
And I really look back and go, that was the right decision. I think people rush to be creative directors,
Mm. Yeah.
and I was rushing for it, and I was made it, and they put a bit of distance between me and the work.
At a very early
You know,
age when,
yeah, but too early, really. And I loved being a creative. I really did enjoy being a creative, and
mm,
still do. I still am creative in different ways, but um, it's a great privilege, and I think we rushed to titles as an
mm,
industry,
yeah.
um, which I think is a bit sad, given the sort of brains that we have.
Well, how do you think the pressure's changed over the years? So from when you were like a young creative director at St. Luke's to running the places you run now, I mean, have you seen the pressures change? Do you think they have changed? Or is your way of handling them different?
Well, I think that's certainly the case. I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because there's external pressures, I think, and
Mm,
then self-imposed pressure. That self-imposed pressure has never changed. I think it's still, people go, I don't think anyone can put more pressure on me than I put on myself. And I
mm,
think that still remains the case to a degree. I think the need for I think the pressure is the same, actually. I think it's that the sort of what it takes to get something creative out and into the world, and for that idea to be good and people to be excited by it remains the same. And
mm,
I think that's constant. And I think you can adapt to that, and you can understand how your brain works, and you can understand how the process works, and you can be more calm about that. That will come. That it will come. You need to find your flow state and your. I didn't understand that when I was a young creative.
mm,
I understand that more now, and I understand how to set the conditions for it. But at the end of the day, if the idea is not there, that pressure is fierce and it's equal, and that's never not been anything but that pressure.
yeah.
I think and then also the job is different because whilst I may be a creative leader, the imperative for the work is still the same, even if it's me having to write it or having to create the atmosphere around a team to write it. That 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 still remains, I think.
Mm. Do you think people are able to handle the pressure as much as we kind of would have been used to at the beginning?
Um, I don't know whether I handled the pressure. I,
How did you
I
how
think
did you how did you cope then? So because I would agree I would probably very similar. So how would you have coped back then?
uh, just this is a podcast that's candid. I'm not very well, to be honest with you. I think
Mm,
it would sort of drive me slightly mad at times, and uh, the frustration and the sort of discipline and or the lack of discipline or not knowing how to sort of get things going. And they were, you should probably speak to my wife and long lifelong partner who stood by and watched me disintegrate every Friday night. But uh, not very. I don't think I handled it well. But then I suppose the roller coaster is such that in a way you've got to feel the low to feel the high, haven't you? And then
Mm,
when you get it through, it's an exquisite feeling, isn't it?
yeah, it's a lovely
It,
feeling.
it the not well, and you sort of go out for a few beers and talk about it, and just go home frustrated and work out how to manage that the next day, and sleepless nights and all the things I think that come with that, the stress of not having something solved.
Mm,
I think at the heart of things, when I'm in my happiest place, I'm making and solving things in front of me. There's
yeah,
something tangible and I can just build it and I know how to solve it or I can work around it. And I've got a brain that's very good at that. But if I can't, it sort of implodes. Confidence, self-doubt,
yeah,
all of those all of those things that suddenly open the trap door of doom.
yeah,
They're still there, by the way. They're just not as I can put them back in the box.
yeah. How do you hide that or not hide that? How do you protect your teams from that? Because you're right, kind of like I don't think we ever really get over that completely. But how do you protect your teams from that so that they don't feel it?
Um, I don't think so it goes back to that idea that we are whatever we are we're a deadline driven industry.
Mm,
And that deadline is a pressure point. And the closer you get to that deadline, the more that pressure builds in it. And I think you can diffuse that pressure by managing the process and you can talk people through it. You can, I love I think there's enormous power in taking everyone on the journey with you,
yeah,
setting the agenda and the expectation
yeah,
and talking people through it and let people know that, it might be getting tricky and that when I was a creative, the pressure would be dropped onto my lap and the door to the office would be shut.
yeah.
And now the way I sort of like to sort of work with teams is it's very much we're going on that journey together. We're all culpable. I'm more
Mm,
culpable than anyone, actually, is my
mm,
problem. Ultimately, my problem.
yeah,
And I let people know that. And I say team, I don't mean just a creative community. I'm sort of talking about
a whole lot.
the team project at large.
Yeah,
And it sounds trite perhaps, but also to try and make that journey as exciting, as ambitious as possible, to let
mm,
people know that what we're trying to do is difficult, because otherwise everyone would be doing it. And then I think people will get there. But I don't think you can ever escape that pressure because of the nature of the business.
yeah, I'd agree.
You
Do
can't
you
always
think?
be right.
Yeah, very much. So do you think there's a certain type of person who's best suited to this industry and this job, this role?
I think you need to be, we've heard the word a lot, haven't we? Resilient.
Mm.
I think, I've I think I'm an annoying bugger in the sense that I will just keep going. The fact that I've been doing this, for so long is probably testament to that, in that sort of like there will be another one.
Yeah.
Um, but I think, you've just got to be sort of tolerant of stuff and understand, and you've got to be excited by ideas. I mean, at the end of the day, I still get a massive thrill out of seeing work, not just my projects and stuff like that, but when I see work in the industry, I go, fucking hell, that is awesome. I get that drive. I think you've got to be excited by that, because I think if you're not excited by that, you're really into self-flagellation, because it's not the industry for it's not in the industry for people who don't quite enjoy getting ideas away.
No, at all.
Um, yeah, I think it's just, yeah, but I don't know. I think you got to be resilient, confident. You got to enjoy the process. You got to enjoy working with people. Got to enjoy making stuff. Makers
Mm.
welcome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, I think that's the big tragedy is that I think so much of our stuff gets caught up in PowerPoint keynotes that I think we sort of mistaken that as the output.
Mm, mm.
And I think that's the, people who don't make stuff. That's where I think the frustration lies these days.
So it's really interesting that so over all of the years of been doing it and the kind of like the ups and the downs that inevitably come with that, you
Mm.
still love what you do. You're still very
Yeah, yeah,
much
yeah.
in
Yeah, yeah,
excited
yeah.
by it.
Yeah. Yeah. I absolutely love it. And but I also love the brands that we work. I've worked with you get to go and see ridiculous things, don't
Mm,
you? To
yeah,
see things that you would never normally you get a little bit behind the curtain
mm,
of stuff. And you go and I remember, you when we were working with the NHS, you would go to an actual blood bank and you would see
yeah,
inside a blood bank and you go, well, that's just a mad image. Or you would go and sit on a, £2 billion Navy destroyer that's state of the art.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Or you would go and, or I mean, the things that you get, I met the Dulux dog the other day,
Oh,
the
wow.
actual Dulux dog.
Wow.
Uh, or you go and talk to someone who sort of knows how to brew beer, and you go around a distillery, or you go and meet the founders of brands of, they're amazingly interesting people. They're driven by um, something deep inside them, like the founders of Sipsmith, two eccentric, really brilliant, funny people. I think you have to be that sort of person to make something. So you get to meet ridiculously interesting people. I mean,
Mm,
like mega talent,
yeah,
work with incredibly talented people. Cinematographers, you know, artists, comedian, the whole thing is never not interesting, is it?
yeah. It's great because a lot of people do fall out of love with the thing. I think that's
Yeah.
where the problem starts happening. If
Yeah.
you can stay in love with it, then you can put up with whatever happens because you're in love with the thing.
Yeah, I think you've got to have that endless love for it. And I'm sort of, I'm not, I don't think I am sugarcoating it. I mean, it is hard. It is a hard industry. But the privilege of that is, I've been, when I started my job, I started with a young copywriter called Sam Cartmel. He
Mm.
wasn't my, but he was in the office next door. And Niels Leonard actually was a young typographer.
Oh, right, I didn't
And
realize that.
and I mean, look at them. And I
Mm.
still work with Sam. Sam and I still collaborate on stuff, and he's endlessly funny and clever. And it's just a joy to go and sit with him for a bit. But you don't get that. I don't think you get that in other. I don't. Well,
No.
I don't know, but I mean, I don't see it in other. And I think it's just interesting how things get made and how businesses build themselves and the ideas that start businesses, and that's just wildly interesting to a
Mm.
degree. And then you get to go and work with an amazing filmmaker or artist or pioneering tech specialist.
It's amazing. And you're one of the
There's,
most,
yeah,
yeah, and you're one of the most awarded creatives in the world. So did that change anything when that started happening?
not no, not no. I don't. I don't think the correlation is there, is it? In terms of when I was at St Luke's refused to enter awards.
Mm.
I remember at the time feeling really really
Yeah.
annoyed about that. But their sort of thing was just get the column inches for your brands.
Yeah.
That's where the success is. Very early on, it was a very interesting time because it was very ahead of its time, I think, and there was people like David. I mean, that was interesting because you had people like David Abraham, who I think is probably a genius.
Mm.
Kate Stanners, Tim Hearn, and
Yeah.
Dave Bonagriedi and Narrett.
Yeah.
They were changing things actually, just even
Yeah.
the structure of the agency. But the
Yeah.
working process was original in that sense of before that, it was very much the idea is the domain of the creative, and the planning is the domain of the strategists, and client relationships were. And then they were like, "No, fuck that.
Mm.
Ideas can come from anywhere.
Yeah.
Anyone can be in front of the client." And I think the work they did at that time was really, it was really innovative. You know, look at things like chuck out your chintz, and the level of thinking and application of ideas was amazing. And you know, a lot of it was driven around how much PR can you generate. IKEA was all around how much noise in the market can you create. You got low share of voice. You know, you got a brand that people aren't comfortable with to a degree because it's not their taste, and then so make it their taste.
I
And
think it was
it
amazing. What
and
such iconic work, that stuff.
yeah, yeah, so much of it was,
Mm.
you know, there was a campaign that I just think is still a work of genius, which was if IKEA can encourage people to get divorced, then you'll sell twice as much furniture. The conceit is amazing, but it was very, this is a long time ago, but it was incredibly disruptive because
Yeah.
sending different cuts to the Daily Mail and different cuts to the Guardian and letting them sort of battle it out. But that level of disruption, I think, is phenomenal. And I
Yeah.
think and I think that was the trade-off for the award. You would get your work talked about. And I think that's never been more important, actually.
Mm.
And I think awards are great and awards are recognition, but I think it has to come off the work.
Mm.
And I think but I think, if you're being awarded for something that's genuinely innovative, I think that's pretty interesting. I think you're kind of changing, I think when awards are great and at their best, the industry is moving forwards with it. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's progress through that. But I think I've I'm proud of I'm proud of the awards. I'm really proud of the work, but I think I'm also kind of interested in what's happening next. You know
What's
what I
it?
mean? It's
Yeah. What's next? And
yeah, it's
so, what does it when people talk about the work and it's work you've been involved in? How does that feel?
it well, and to be candid, I've had work talked about in joyful ways, and also I've had my work
I think we were. Shit
I've had
one.
my work kicked around by like a football. Um, and I think you have to take both with a pinch of salt,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Genuinely. You can't let your ego run away, and you can't be hurt by stuff people say about stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but I think when work goes down well and people are enjoying it, I think it's a hugely enjoyable thing that you've been part of a community that's created something that um, people are enjoying and it's received well and they're sharing it is really nice. It's like I guess it's a bit like cooking, isn't it? When you create something that people enjoy and want more of,
Mm.
there is a very nice sort of glow inside. I mean, I think that I suppose I like to create for the solving of the problem,
Yeah.
not the reward of the crowd. Do you know what I mean?
It's interesting.
Do you know what I mean by that? It's just like I love the problem solve and the creativity that comes off that, and and this idea that before there was absolutely nothing and now there is something. That's
Mm-mm.
bringing something to life. Greatest privilege. And the make and the sort of power in creating something to solve something that perhaps didn't exist, I think is interesting.
Yeah. A bit like Rick Rubin then. It's not about necessarily about the audience. It's about solving a problem.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. You have to have the audience in mind and you have to be on target. But equally, sometimes the problem that you need to solve will change everything anyway. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? It's just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
maybe that's not correct. The correct answer might not. I remember very early on being told your idea your idea is off brief, but equally your brief can be off idea. And I think you have to, if you solve the problem correctly, then everything might change.
Yeah. We used to have that thing at Wyden's, like you'd have the brief, and if you created work that was really brilliant, you just retrofit the brief and make the brief
Yeah, I
fit the
think there's a
work.
bit. Yeah, I think there's a bit of that actually, and I think that idea of the rolling ball,
Mm.
that everything can change as you go through the journey anyway,
Mm.
even down to the execution.
Mm.
Um, but I- but I- but I've never sort of. I don't have the sort of ego or the for the you know what I mean? That doesn't, it's nice, but it doesn't, that's not where the warmth comes from.
Mm. What got you into the industry in the first place? Because I mean, being really candid, I got into it because I couldn't be a rock star, and it seemed like a good second alternative. It's like it was purely ego driven. I think, if I'm really honest, I
Yeah.
liked the free alcohol. I liked the big offices. I liked the shininess, and I liked the fact that if I couldn't play guitar on stage, this is like a pretty close second. I mean, what was it that got you into the? And I think that's why I didn't stick in it as well because I realized I wasn't going to be a rock star in it. So I kind of like fell out of love with it in that way. I mean, what was it that got you into it and kept you in it, would you say?
Uh, I think there was a you sort of hear about people that go, oh, I fell into it by accident, and everyone goes, oh, that's really cool. And I think I was much more determined to be in it.
Mm,
And I think it was the big thing in my life was telly. Do you know? And I know that sounds, but I suppose you got to understand, I had I used to have chronic asthma, so going outside was a bit of a nightmare. So I'd always be inside watching TV and listening to music and listening to the radio, and I just felt like that was my life, and I felt that was a thing, and it was something, in the 80s, it was it was fucking cool. You know
yeah,
what I mean? It was like it was cool, and I thought, and no one at school was talking about it, and I thought, oh fuck, there is a little bit of that. There still is a little bit of that in that sort of. There's something cool about the glamour of TV and film and screen and
yeah,
that's weirdly my best work is not on screen. It's a different shape of work, but the original thing was like it felt fucking glamorous that.
yeah,
The Saatchi guys were insuring their creative department for £1 million,
yeah,
and big the big filmmakers were coming out of it, and what they created on screen was visually intoxicating. I felt
yeah,
well, all this sort of the silk or the sort of cigarette advertising at the time was extraordinary and different,
mm,
and the sort of stories that you would see in film and the humor, I think, drew me a lot.
yeah,
The funny in the commercial world at that time was just another art form, wasn't it? I think, and
yeah.
it was another level of entertainment, and I think, yeah, I'm just being really candid. I just think I got suckered by that.
Mm,
It appealed to my. There's a bit of the part of me is driven by. Uh, there's a sort of a quiet anarchist in me, and there was something in that just appealed to me,
mm,
and it's still there. That sort of that anarchy, I think, in a weird way. I can't work out where I'm going with it, but just being candid, I just quite sometimes want to do what other people aren't doing.
mm. I think you're right, because I remember growing up in like a council estate area and kind of reading Campaign magazine and to
Yeah,
seeing what the world was like there, and then walking out in the streets and seeing silk cut ads and
yeah,
Benson Hedges and stuff. It's just like fucking hell. Suddenly you can be a creative and you can find your stage.
yeah.
Because to me, it wasn't the TV stuff to me. When I think about it, it was I don't know why, but it was the posters that got me. Just the ballsiness of them, the boldness of them.
And they were clever,
Yeah,
and it, it was imagery like. So I don't know why everything's driven by Sartres. It wasn't. I had a much broader understanding of the world. Just for some reason, I'm just spouting Sartres. But the pregnant man was in.
yeah,
I remember the pregnant man being in the waiting room with the doctors.
yeah,
You
yeah,
go, that's a weird image. That's weird.
yeah,
And I think they're sort of very sort of powerful sort of for a 14-year-old brain, there were powerful codes
yeah,
and visual code. And you had the enlightenment of Tony Kaye at his fucking might.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Uh and the music to sort of things like Dunlop. And I don't know, it just felt a very I think one of the things that I don't like doing it sounds sounds bad, but I don't really have a bookish brain. I don't have a brain for words, and I don't have a brain that's wired for taking information in a static way. I just don't. It's just, and it's taken me a long time to understand that. I respond very well to sound and color,
Yeah, yeah,
really well to sound and color, and and I just think that it wasn't oh you didn't want to go into feature films. No, fuck that. There was something very fast and snackable and quick hit, sugary quick hit, and that really works for me,
yeah,
badly. And I think the industry and the commercial world at that time was that. And then I started buying these sort of books and like communication arts annuals from old from places like really random places where you could buy them. But the whole thing was just like fucking looking through a catalogue of funny, brilliant, sharp writing and pictures. Pictures.
yeah.
How the
Pictures.
picture is. And I think if I wasn't this, the only other place I think I would be is I'd like to have been a photojournalist, I think.
Interesting. What kind of areas would you go to? Would it be photojournalism of war or photojournalism of what would light you up?
I think I don't know. I mean, war is interesting in that in the storytelling world. I mean, I don't know. I just think I just remember seeing in my school library just what the books you shouldn't be looking at were the picture books, and I was just all into the picture books. And
Yeah. So
there were these collections of I can't remember what they were, but it was basically photojournalism throughout the years, and it was a history of the world through visuals. But I'm just interested in that storytelling.
yeah,
Praise.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Because it's interesting because a lot of people will get into the industry and then they start seeing it as a poor relative to the film industry. But you've always seen it as the place you want to be. Or it seems to have been that you found your place.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is something in the. It doesn't feel like it's quick, but making things quickly and moving on to the next one
Mm,
and having a range of expression, I think is really appealing. And I think the sort of the time length and time period of it all is,
mm,
like you could spend, let's say you spend 6 months working on a project that's sort of gone and done in 48 hours, but there's an afterburn on it in social or PR, and then you're on to the next one,
yeah,
is really appealing to me. Where you can have three of these things,
yeah. It's a speed to
and
market speed.
yeah, I think the speed to market, but equally, you could have one thing that's around, I don't know, paint, one's around tech, one's around a social cause, all running at the same time, and it just works for my brain type. I think it just
Mm,
works for me.
yeah.
I can bounce in and out of stuff. Focusing on one thing for one length of time would be a fucking disaster.
So it's kind of like obviously the industries and the work has given you a lot of joy and a lot of
Yeah,
joy.
yeah,
So is it
yeah,
has it ever negatively affected your mental or emotional state?
yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, there are times when I think you can go in, not I would never call it a depression, but I just think you can go into black holes that are just very difficult to get out of,
Mm,
and you sort of kind of wonder why you did this industry, and you sort of feel burnt by it, very burnt by it,
mm,
or very I like justice. I like a fair landscape, and I think the industry can feel very unfair,
mm,
and that I feel I can be quite sort of angry about stuff like that. There is definitely a side to me that is deeply frustrated and questioning of self, questioning of others, and unsure actually of what's
mm,
next. And I
mm,
think that's hard to manage. It's still hard to manage. And I think trying to find a state of equilibrium is often very, very difficult. And I
Mm.
think there are times I come home and just can have a temporary hatred of it,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And if I see a sort of an unjust sense of, I don't like people who go for credit. I don't like
Mm.
the people who go for self-promotion. It's weird actually, and it makes me angry, really angry. And
Mm.
I'm not particularly after credit for stuff, but it really fucks me off when other people try and take mine. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And there are things like
Yeah.
that that just rile me. And then and then on top of that, there is this deep sense of self-doubt that never eludes me when is my work good enough? Was I the best creative I could have been?
Mm.
What will be left behind that is true? And it worries me. And I can have sleepless nights, and I can self-destruct quite quickly. It's a fragile, I'm not a robust person in that sense. It's fragile.
Mm. So
Um,
is it what is it? Are you thinking about a creative legacy that what would you leave behind, or are you thinking when you're within the journey, what are people appreciating?
yeah, it's not about legacy. I think part of me is like, uh, I think part of me is like dangerously ambitious for
Mm.
myself.
Right.
And, being really, really candid, I wanted to be the best creative in London.
Yeah.
But that role was taken. You know what I mean? When I was a creative, there were creatives around me that were just breathtakingly good and made it look effortless. But
Mm.
and I know when you get to meet them, it doesn't look as easy as they make it look. But I don't think I ever reached the height as a creative that I wanted to reach. I don't think my work is, if you look at Walter Campbell's or Rich and Andy's or the things that were happening at Wines when you were there. Did I reach that height personally? I'm not sure I did, and that bothers me a lot.
What?
That sort of kind of goes, it's not over. You know
Mm.
what I mean? The days aren't over. It's not over for you. And I feel like the clock is ticking a little bit. I think there's an ageism to our industry that bothers me.
Yeah.
That there's a sort of shadow above me in terms of, someone's going to tap me on the shoulder and go, right. And that's verbal. That's there in the industry, and that's frightening.
Yeah.
Um, that your creativity has a time limit is fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
I don't want to ever stop. I don't want to ever stop that.
I think that's the amazing thing, isn't it? Is that you've got the hunger to keep going, and you kind of like, as you say, you're not done yet.
I'm not done yet, and I think, but my worry is, will I ever reach what I want to reach? That is prevalent.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Whilst all of I've spoken about, I feel deep joy for. Fuck it, am I as good as I want to be? That is a that's a problem.
Even though you've achieved so much,
Yeah,
undoubtedly
yeah,
achieved so much.
yeah. Because I still don't feel like I've done the thing. I still feel like my biggest punch is yet to come. But
Yeah.
maybe that's the naive drive. I don't know.
I don't think so. So what do you think is next then? What do you think the next thing could be?
Well, I think I'm
Like
really enjoying.
how are you gonna know when you've hit that mark that you've set for yourself? How are you gonna know when you've hit that?
I don't know. I don't know, and I don't know. And to be honest with you, I haven't spoken to the people that the work I admire. The Rich and Andys of the world, and I know Walt, but did they feel like they did it? I don't know. I think they probably think we did a pretty good job of it.
Mm.
Um, but then, if you talk to sort of photographers, and I think there's a sort of restlessness in people, isn't there? There is a rest,
Certainly
and
creative
I think
people.
that's where the destruction can come in.
Yeah.
And I think, I can be I can easily blow myself up.
Mm,
I mean, I've got a hair trigger for that stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but I think over time and over, conversations, that we've had, you learn to combat that.
Mm.
But I still worry that someone's going to pull me out of the game before I've managed to score the goal I wanted to score. That's
But
alarming, actually, if I think about it now.
yeah. But if you know what it is, so if you need so basically if you had an understanding of what that target looked like, would it make it easier for you to reach it?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I think I know what sort of work I want to do and what sort of culture I want to create. I suppose there's different things now there because as a creative, I was never the best creative. I was never the creative I wanted to be. As a creative leader, I think I'm a better creative leader than I am a creative, actually.
So is the bar in creative leadership? That's what you want to be
Yeah,
at second
I think
environment.
that, yeah, and I think I'm just being very candid.
Mm.
Um, but creative leadership is something I really enjoy, and I mean, there will be creatives that I've worked with who won't say I'm that. Uh, but I think sort of being able to sort of create a culture for work and creating an environment and a belief in the individual that they are capable of so much
Yeah.
is is something that I really enjoy, and I want to take that further. And I think I can see how I can do that, and I think create the conditions for that, along with other people, of course. Uh, and maybe the next sort of 2 years, I'm really excited about because I think we're about to sort of start demonstrating what we're capable of. But I love taking talent and working with talent and showing them the possibility within themselves and helping them get there and creating a kind of a warm environment for that to happen. Not a safe environment in the sense that, it's never guaranteed, is it, this creative lark? But
Mhm.
that I can see what I want next. I sort of wonder whether my creativity will go in a different direction.
Right.
Um, I'm still a very good art director, I think,
Yeah.
and I can pull things together and make things very easily and well. That's I don't know, but I just remember looking at the work that inspired me and thinking, "Fuck me, how did they do that? How did they?" And there's still a bit of that, right? How did they get that away?
Got you. But I think that's amazing that you've still got that inside that there's that drive to do that kind of level of stuff. I think a lot of people just give up and just say, "What's the point?"
No, I mean,
But you've not got that.
no, the idea of giving up, just someone's going to have to fucking take a dart gun.
Yeah.
Uh, and you sort of go, well, I remember someone saying that advertising is a waste of a good brain. And I sort of kind of go, I don't agree with that actually.
No, I think it's a
I think
great
it's
way to
great.
keep it sharp.
Yeah. And interesting and and it's ended, it's endlessly interesting, isn't it? Because it's always different. Every day is a different day. It's cliche, but
And it also sounds like you're in a place now where you have the possibility to hit that high that you want to hit. You're
yeah,
surrounded by the people who could help you
yeah,
do that, and
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
got a good team around you.
I'm being led by incredible people
Mm,
and phenomenal people actually. And I
mm.
think that sort of the chemistry of that and the sort of the opportunities that we have with our clients are just breathtaking, really, when you think about it.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
and I think the talent pool is different. I think one thing that I think is really good is, when we were sort of young creatives, the opportunity to express was either in a poster or the mediums weren't there. Now they are wild, you know,
Yes.
wild. And I think I think if you look at the sort of the social and PR and influence landscape, that's rapidly growing for us. And I find that, like I was saying earlier, my best work wasn't in film, I don't think. I think my best work was in things like Missing Type, which was like a massive
Mm.
PR and I thing. Um, Also in my own favorite work, but that's interesting. There's always something to learn, Matt, isn't there?
Mm, very much
There's
so.
always something. There's always something to say. Oh, fuck! I'm not as clued up on that as I should be. Or
Mm,
you're going to look like an idiot. You don't understand more about this. Or
yeah.
you won't know how to talk to audience.
So, so
And I
here's
think that.
so here's a question, Jules. What would the younger 14-year-old Jules think if he saw what you had achieved now?
I think you would be pleased. Because I think that 14-year-old's still around somewhere.
Mm,
I think he'd be pleased. I think he'd be delighted in the sort of make and the visual.
mm,
I think he, and I think he'd be all right about it. I think I think he'd be want to be a bit more uh disruptive with stuff. I was an annoying kid. Um and I think there'd be a bit of that, but I think he'd be all right about it. I think what what would the 70-year-olds say? I don't know. I don't think probably sitting up there going fucking hell. Need to pull your thumb. I don't know.
it's interesting. So the 70-year-old would not be as happy, but the 14-year-old would be pretty pleased.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'm not sure what my future self's thinking at the moment.
Got
He's
you.
probably thinking, you need to fucking earn a fuck ton so I don't have to work. But I don't know. I don't ever want to not make stuff though, Matt. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
even if someone does take a fucking dart gun with an age on it and shoot me in the head, uh, I think there would be other things I would want to go and do. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
build my own brand or
yeah,
not Jules Chalkley, but my own product or market
yeah,
thing. Or I would take up a camera, I'd take up the camera more seriously.
yeah.
Those are the things. I mean, I'm very lucky in the fact that I do enjoy it. You
Mm,
know what I mean? It's like I like making. It's a bit like when I'm not working, the thing that I quite like to do is just go and take some shots of stuff. Much more sort of landscapes, oceanscapes, stuff like that.
yeah.
And I can spend hours just fiddling with it on Photoshop, hours and hours just noodling with it.
So do
And
you?
I'm very, very calm and happy in that space.
That's interesting. Do you think that by you're trying to hit that target you're aiming for, do you think it's possible to do it after leadership and be back into creativity or building your brand, or do you think it has to happen
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah,
leadership
yeah.
first? Got you.
I think there, I've got, yeah, I think everything is possible, isn't it?
Mm,
I think after leadership, the joy of the position of creative director is that you get to create vicariously and you
yeah,
get to lead and you get to shape. It's not you writing the words, or you might do, or you might tweak the word, or you might tweak the visual, or you might go, better way of doing this is going to be like this, or
mm,
the answer to the execution is not what you think it is.
mm,
Um, it's still a joyous position, but I think equally I'm quite happy to go and do my own thing,
yeah,
build my own story and build my own. I don't know. I think it would always manifest in something physical. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Whether it's a picture or a item of clothing, or I have to have something made. Do you?
yeah,
I mean, there has to be an output.
yeah. Does make total sense.
Um, but it's a British. I'm also very. I feel very proud to be part of the sort of long chain of British creativity
Yeah,
in its widest sense. That I think British creativity is the best creativity on the planet.
yeah,
I think it's in in its widest sense, and I feel that even just being a part of that is something to behold.
So wouldn't your 70-year-old be proud of that?
Yeah, definitely proud of that. Definitely proud of, being part of things like the 2012 Olympics and the
Yeah,
creativity surrounding some of that. I mean, it's not like I fucking wrote the opening ceremony, but I was a part of it, and
yeah.
that I find enormously, uh, yeah, I'm proud of that.
Mm.
But have I done something that I feel is like, and do I want to? I don't know whether I've got the ego to sort of create something that is fucking everlasting. That doesn't, I don't want to be on stage, and I don't want to be remembered. I just want to do stuff and make stuff that people like.
But this is, but there's still a deep impact thing that you want to do.
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
there's
Definitely.
something there.
Yeah, and I think, change, the whole point of it is, in my head, the sort of, and we can talk about whether advertising is art or not. I don't know. But the important thing about the creative act is that you leave someone changed. You know what I
Mm.
mean? I think that
Mm.
that is there is a definition of art in there for me, which is when you come into contact with it,
Yeah,
your way of seeing the world is slightly altered.
yeah, yeah,
It might be, fuck, I hope I never see that thing again.
yeah.
It might be, I don't know, just seeing the world in a slightly different way. I think that's interesting.
And what do you think I mean, it's really hard to tell, like no one's got a crystal ball, but how do you think the future looks for advertising?
Um, I think that's a really difficult question to answer that.
It is. I think so many people are trying to wrestle with that one.
Yeah, because I think the media landscape is dictating terms, isn't it?
Mm.
You know what I mean? Whereas, for a long time the media landscape was very fixed.
Yeah,
If you think about TV, radio, print
yeah.
at home, now it's ever shifting, and I don't know. I feel very positive about the industry. I think the if you look at things that are happening at the moment, there's some really entertaining 4-minute short films flying around for brands that are just really engaging and really enjoyable. And the sort of the longer form thing I think is interesting for us.
Mm.
I think the blurring of lines between, let's call them TV shows or, long form entertainment and advertising is really interesting at the moment. I think YouTube being the fastest growing broadcast channel is interesting. If you've got very tight audience and very interesting um an interesting sort of unique business, then YouTube is a really interesting place to build your crowd. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
100%.
And I think, podcast is phenomenal.
Mm.
Weirdly, I was driving, I'm in Devon, I was driving down and I was listening to my wife is a great cook and loves food. She's really passionate about food, and we were listening to these these podcasts, which I suddenly realized were all put on by Waitrose.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it was like 2 hours of podcast, with Angela, is it Angela Hartnett? Cook, famous. Anyway,
Oof, wouldn't you?
it's all Waitrose originated. You sort of go, oh, that's interesting. So
Oh, yeah.
I feel very excited, but I just don't think it's going to be what it was, and I think that's okay. I think, if you can sort of create equally engaging material, but it's coming out through an influence narrative or social narrative, which I think will become increasingly important. But I think
Mm.
it's become more muscular.
Yeah.
And I think I'm pretty positive about it. One of the things that I guess we were talking about just before we did this was the idea that is the struggle good for the creative product? Probably,
Yeah.
and I think the UK has been through a difficult period of time,
Yeah.
but I think we're starting to see work that puts us back on that pedestal.
Yeah. Interesting.
And it's real work, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
not wad-shaped bunny. It's
Mm.
big brands finding new ways to talk to their audience. I think it will never die that. It will
Yeah.
never die. It will change.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, do you think the struggle helps creativity? Like in
Yeah,
general, do you think struggle helps creativity?
yeah. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's like for every period of darkness, there's a renaissance, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah,
Historically, um, Renaissance has always followed bleakness.
yeah, yeah.
I sort of wonder whether or not um, the British creative industry is going to blossom again. I think it was. I think COVID changed everything for everyone, didn't it?
Yeah,
And I think what are we now? 4 years after?
it is about, isn't it? It's mad. It's gone quick there.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
I think we're only sort of. I mean, it just changed everything, didn't it? The working
Yeah.
style, the working week, everything. And I think we're just slowly starting to understand how to get back to,
Mm,
or not get back to actually, but move on from it.
yeah. So you're hopeful for the future and what's possible.
Yeah,
Mm,
I think the potential is ever growing. What I do worry about is young talent coming into the industry. That is a problem for me, I think, and the way we're sort of getting talent, retaining talent. We need them way more than they need us, and
do
I'm
you
not sure we're not setting our stall out as an industry for them.
do you think it's harder to find great people then?
Yeah, definitely. But I
Mm,
also think it's harder to educate. I mean, I could bore for hours about this sort of the way the education system has changed and the the way that sort of art colleges have become, I think they've become universities. Sort of
mm,
powerful art colleges that had a sort of a voice and an opinion, and like Slade School, not politically motivated, but they were a voice in the community that was loud and strong and became a polytechnic.
yeah,
And then the polytechnic became a university, and the university wants 9 grand a year
yeah. It's crazy, isn't it?
for
Yeah,
its
yeah,
education.
yeah.
And then suddenly you've gone from this um, agitator
Mm,
fee paying thing. And the culture of that worries me because where is the creative voice that's agitating?
yes, yeah. I think that's the
And
thing, isn't it?
agitate.
It was quite an accessible industry to get into at one point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My education was free. I
You
mean,
same, yeah.
that, I mean, I'm so blessed in the fact that, had I had to pay 9 grand a year to go and do that, I'm not sure I would have ended up here.
I
Do you know
wouldn't
what I
have.
mean?
Yeah.
If you look back at the pathway,
Mm,
um, and I think that if you when you take out the agitator because the agitator can't afford it, what have you got? What have
yeah,
you got as a creative industry?
I'd agree.
Where will the voice come?
Do you think there's a solution to that? Do you think there's a solution maybe like apprenticeships or some way of kind of fixing that?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Uh, I think the arts should be subsidized.
Yeah,
And because I think you sort of go into if when I was at foundation, there were the big four that you would go into, right? You would go into fine art, design, fashion. I can't remember what the fourth one was. Fine art, design, but there were
advertising.
four of them. Well, I think that was a subset, but it was the big four, and you you never really knew what was going to come out at the end of it.
Yeah,
Or we're going to just go into the arts. But if you're spending 40 grand over 3 years and you're a youngster and you're getting a massive fucking loan and that's a vast sum of money, you're going to want to know what's on the other side of that.
yeah,
You know what I
100%.
mean? You're
Yeah,
going to want to know. So now the big four are something like interior design, digital design. They're very tangible. Oh, when you get on the other side, you're going to get a job, and that's going to pay
mm,
you
X
25
amount of
grand a year,
money.
and you're going to start paying off the fucking ridiculous debt that you've been accruing. And I think that's criminal.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, all education should be subsidized, but
yeah. I would agree. Well, it makes it very elitist, doesn't it, to be able to get an education at
yeah,
a certain level?
that's a big problem for us and the creative industry at large. That I've wandered off. I've just wandered off downstream somewhere, but um, I don't know. I think whether apprenticeships. I mean, I don't think the agencies are doing. I think we can all be doing more, all of us.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing is because so many places are in like reaction mode and fear mode. It's more about how can we survive rather than how can we continue to grow from the bottom up, which is a longer game, but necessary for long-term survival.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you need the people that are using the media channels and have a voice to come into the industry to shake it up and move it on.
But I guess that's
And
the hard thing, isn't it? Because if you cut in the top layer out, because the same they've aged out, but we've
yeah,
already cut the bottom out because they're priced out, where does that
yeah,
leave it?
fucking messy blancmange.
Yeah, yeah,
I think, and I think you need the voices from all over the UK in that industry.
you do. And I think that's what's been shut down. Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, and I think by sort of is it called the universification? There's a phrase for it, which is where suddenly everything is going to cost you money.
Mm,
You lose that rowdy agitator voice,
yeah,
and it all becomes a bit polite and a
yeah,
bit middle class.
yeah. I
And
mean, that
then yeah,
I was gonna say that is what I've noticed because I remember it was a long time ago, but when I got into the beginning, it was there were people like me around. There were
yeah,
working class people
yeah, yeah,
who
yeah.
came from we didn't have money, but it didn't mean we were shut off from the potential to actually earn money and create something of life.
I did one of the very first things I did to build a portfolio quickly was a D&AD evening class, which it's one of
Mm,
the best things I ever did. And I was in there. I was at Foundation, but like motorcycle couriers in there trying to sort of change careers, cab drivers,
yeah,
people
yeah,
from all over. Really, I mean, it's a really eclectic bunch of people.
yeah. It was.
I think, I mean, I think I'm very blessed to have found this industry because I don't think I would have survived in any other.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? And
yeah, I
and
do
I'm grateful.
exactly.
I'm grateful for I'm grateful for, from a geezer that literally failed everything. It gave me a lifeline and a hope.
Yeah,
And
totally.
that I don't want that to stop for other people.
Yeah. And do you think the opportunities in for the agencies of the future, the ones that will probably be the ones that are thriving and stuff, will be the ones who find a way to get more
Yeah,
diverse young talent through the doors again?
1,000,000%,
Yeah.
1,000,000%. It's almost criminal actually, but I mean, I
Mm.
think yeah. And the people that don't have the qualification, to do an advertising course now, you probably have to have three A levels, and
Yeah, probably.
you know what I mean? It's just like
Yeah.
that's not right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'd agree. I'd agree. Well, I guess it was an industry you could have stumbled into, as a lot of people did. But now you
Yeah,
say you can't stumble into it because you've got to have a guaranteed way to pay the loan back.
yeah. And by the way, I think I've got three. Uh, they're all 20. Fucking hell, I don't know. They're all in their early 20s. I've got three kids, and the workplace is not a nice environment for them. It's not friendly.
Mm. What's
It's
changed? What's
hard.
changed for them?
I don't know. I just think that there's something that's very, very difficult for anyone to get a grip on any ladder
Yeah.
of any type. Highly educated. Well, when I say that, they've got, well, degree. One's doing a degree, one's got a degree, the other one, has got some good A levels. Um, I just think it's a really anti. There's something not going right for those
Nice. Yeah.
kids, and
Mm.
it's not just it's across the entire generation, like you say. And I think that is a problem
Yeah, I'd agree.
because that talent's not getting in,
Yeah.
and that talent is going to be our future. And then, that is when they put the old tranquilizer dart in the air pistol and shoot me in the thigh. But we need to do something as a, not just the creative industry, but at large for that generation of, they're going to change the world.
They will. They've got to. I mean, it's kind of like it's kind of they have to now. So do you think would you kind of encourage your children or younger people to get into the industry now? Or would you kind of say, I'm not so sure?
Um, no, I mean, I think my oldest is moving into sort of the PR space.
Yeah, nice.
My youngest is doing psychology, so I don't know where
Mm,
that will end up. But my lad's trying to get into production,
yeah,
in the sort of film side of stuff, just as
interesting.
in the runnings, in the sort of trying to get into learn the ropes of film production.
Yeah,
Would I encourage them to become an advertising creative? I think you've got to want to do that yourself, actually. I
yeah. It
think it's
just
got something.
takes a lot out of you, doesn't it, to do it?
It does, yeah, it does. Yeah, it does take a lot out, but I don't think anything's easy these days, man, is it?
No, it doesn't. No, I don't think so.
Not to get to a level that you want to play at.
Yeah. And again, going back to your 7-year-old, you've got to a really high level.
Yeah, I've got to. Yeah, yeah, I've got to. Yeah, I'd say I've got to a good level. Um, yeah, I just don't think. I just, whilst I say I don't have an ego, there's still a need to express something.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I've said it yet.
But I love the fact you said earlier on, I'm not done yet.
No, I'm not done. No, fucking nowhere near it.
But that's
No, no.
powerful.
Yeah, and I don't want to. I never got into it to make up the numbers, and I never got into it to be a passenger. But I still haven't achieved what I think I'm capable. I haven't done what I think I'm capable of. But being candid with you, I don't know whether I would realize if I had
I
if I had
think,
done it.
yeah, I think that's a really important thing is to figure out what it is that the target looks like, and then how are you going to know once you've achieved it?
Like just mindlessly plowing on. Uh, I don't know. I mean, there's worse things you can do with your time.
There is a lot worse things we can do with time. But it sounds like you spent a lot of good time doing, you had a lot of fun and are having a lot of fun, more importantly.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think there's a lot of wonderful people that you cross paths with,
Mm,
self in included in that, and I think you get to work with very talented people that I just would never come into your sphere of or orbit,
yeah.
and just genuinely very talented thinkers or image makers and funny people.
Mm,
You get to go places you would never ever get to go.
yeah.
You
Which
know what
is,
I'm saying?
yeah.
We did this thing once with the BBC, which was for local radio. That was a really beautiful idea, and we were going, and the idea was if you love where you live, be part of it. And it was just basically people hugging interesting objects in their local community or lying on things that they loved. It was very beautiful actually. Vince Squibb shot it,
Oh, nice.
and we were doing a location, we were doing a location recce, and we were up at Edgbaston Cricket Ground. And I thought, well, I'd quite like to understand what it likes to feel on the crease at Edgbaston. So, go to the location scout. Could we have a look from the pitch to see if there's anything looking back on it? And all I wanted to do was go and stand in the middle of that square. I'll probably be fucking yeah, struck off for that. But I had a little moment standing in the middle of the pitch at Edgbaston.
You did do it. You did do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, lovely.
But half joking, was there a shot from there? But then you get to go and you see the world and being on a naval vessel in the middle of the channel, steaming around and helicopters flying around and or hanging out with scientists that are trying to cure cancer.
Yeah.
Genuinely a Nobel Prize winning scientist and Annie Leibovitz, the photographer.
Yeah,
Don
amazing.
McCullin, talking to Don McCullin about taking some
Yeah,
shot. You know, that you how can you beat that?
yeah, exactly. So have you got any final words for anyone listening to this? Any words of wisdom?
Uh, just pick something you're going to enjoy doing.
Yeah,
I don't think it's never been about money.
yeah,
It's never been about money. And but just pick something that you're going to find endlessly interesting and frustrating and difficult.
mm,
Something you're not sure you can do it.
yeah. And accept that you're going to have the challenges along the way, and
Yeah,
that's okay.
yeah. I mean, I'm still coming to grips with the downs, roller
Mm,
coaster downs. That's something that's still hard to learn. But I think, you know, if you can find something you love doing and will keep you on your toes,
yeah,
it's not a bad way to earn a living.
I would agree. Well, thank you, Jules. It's been really, really
Pleasure.
brilliant. As always, brilliant chatting with you, obviously.
Always lovely to talk to you, my friend.
Likewise, and enjoy the rest of your time in the lovely coast, should we say? I won't say where you are, but in the
Yeah,
coast, on the
yeah,
coast.
out the way, hiding.
Yeah, yeah, hiding. Well, thanks for letting me in the house. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. It's always good to talk to you.
Likewise. Cheers, mate. Come on.